Welcome to another Fast Tips video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's video, we're going to denormalize for performance. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to teach you one way to speed up your database that actually goes against proper normalization techniques. We're going to denormalize the database by adding redundant data in an effort to improve the efficiency of our queries and reports and how fast things like forms load up. Basically, you're going to sacrifice building the database properly in the way it should be run in a perfect world with speed and efficiency. You're going to do things that aren't necessarily considered good database techniques to make the database run faster. Now, this is a developer level video, so those of you who are beginners who are learning Microsoft Access, you're just starting out, don't watch this video because I'm going to teach the advanced developers something that's not considered good database technique, but it's a trick we can play to make the database run faster. You shouldn't worry about this yet. You should practice making your databases perfect using proper normalization techniques. You should forget all about this video for maybe about a year. Go watch this one on proper normalizing of data. All right. And then after you get into VBA and SQL and all that good stuff and your database starts running slow, then come back to this video. All right, this video is for the true nerds, all right? All right, so the rest of you that are left, you should be my advanced students. You should know VBA. You should know how to make an update query. You should know DLOOKUP. We're going to be using this. And you should know a decent amount of SQL, especially as it pertains to Access. Now, if you have not watched my requery in place video, go watch this. We don't necessarily need the techniques from this video, but I do something in this video that is a good candidate for making a database run slow. So if you haven't watched this yet, go watch this. This is a really good video too. It teaches you something pretty cool. So go watch this, then come on back. You'll find a link down below. Okay, so in the requery in place video, we build this query here. That's the customer order value. And what this has is it's got each customer ID, first name, last name, and their total order value. All right, it's basically an aggregate query that adds up all of their orders and gives me an order total, so I know the total worth of each customer. All right, James Kirk has placed orders totaling $37,150. Now, right now this runs fast because I only have 29 customers and a total of maybe 16 orders in the entire system. But as you can imagine, if I've got 50,000 customers, as I do in my Computer Learning Zone database, and I've got hundreds of thousands of orders, okay, which again I do. My database has been running for like 15 years. This query will slow down. All right, it will, and especially if you're running over a network, it could take 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds to load. Okay, now if you base a form off of that query, like I did in the requery in place video, all right, this form is going to seem like it's frozen. It's going to take 20, 30 seconds to load, especially over a network, especially over a slow network, or for those of you who are crazy enough to run Access over Wi-Fi, which I don't recommend, by the way. If you're running Access in your office, you should have wired connections. It just runs so much better, and a minimum of a gigabit router. Okay, so this form will take forever to load if you've got thousands of customers, tens of thousands of orders, and you still want to see this number here. Okay, so what can we do to speed this up? Well, we can denormalize the database. Normalization basically dictates you don't want to have duplicate information in multiple tables. This order total, for example, can be calculated on the fly. So in a perfect world, you should calculate that on the fly everywhere. However, we don't live in a perfect world. Computers are slow. If every computer ran at, Star Trek The Next Generation speeds, which actually someone did a calculation in data in one of the episodes, said how many teraflops he runs at, and we passed that years ago. So I guess in the 1980s they thought that'd be like super fast, but we're already into the petaflops. Anyways, I digress. In a perfect world, if every computer ran super fast, we would just keep calculating that, but that doesn't happen. All right, we got people running databases on slow servers and slow network connections, and these forms can take forever to open. So what we're going to do is we're going to store that order total in the customer table. Say it isn't so, but yes, that's how you're going to do this. You're going to take this value and actually store it in the customer table. Now, getting that value once is no problem. We're going to run a simple update query and plop that value in there. But the trick is you then have to update that value in every possible place in your database where that order total can be changed. Now, for me, I've got a pretty simple database. The only way that you could change that order total, oh, wrong one. The only place I'm using the requery in place database. The only place you can change that is this order form. It's the only place in the entire database that orders can be changed, either items added, modified, orders deleted, and so on. Okay, so we have to control when this guy makes changes and update that value. Okay, so the first step is to simply get that order value, that order total value in the customer table. We're going to come down here in the customer T. We're going to add order total, and that's a currency. All right, save it. All right, now we're going to make a one-time update query to take this value here and plop it into the customer table. Now, I tried doing it with a traditional update query, and watch what happens. All right, query design. I'm going to bring in my customer T, and I'm going to link it to the order value queue, which you think this would work just fine. Set it to an update query. We want to update the order total value. What do we want to update it to? We want to update it to customer order, there it is right there, tab, right? Dot order total. And you'd think this should run just fine, but operation must use an updatable query. I don't like this, all right, because I'm trying to update this guy from this guy. This is updatable, which is the table I'm trying to change things in. But if any table in here, in this join, any table or query is not updatable, you might get this error message. So we need to use a different technique. And what's that technique, you say? Well, it's going to be a delookup. And I know it's slow, and this initial run might take a few minutes, especially if you've got those hundreds of thousands of orders. But this is the only other easy way I can think of to do it. So I'm going to zoom in. All right, what are we going to do here? We're going to update the order total. It's going to be delookup order total from customer order value queue, where the customer ID equals. Now be careful here, because if you just do this, okay, which you'd think you'd be able to get away with, watch what happens. Look at that. Watch the quotes. See that? It put quotes around that. All right, this is one of those instances where you got to make sure you have the brackets there, so it gives you the field customer ID, not the value customer ID, which will result in a 0, and everyone's going to get the same value in there. Okay, run it. I got warning messages turned off. Let's check our customer table. Slide to the right, and there we go. We have our order totals in here. I'm going to slide this over here next to first name, last name. Okay, so we've got the one time. As of right now, those numbers are correct. Okay, so we can close this. Save changes. Sure, if you want to save this, you can save this, update customer order total queue, whatever. Okay, it's in the database for you gold members. All right, now comes the important part, the ongoing maintenance of that value. Every place in the database where that value can be changed, you have to make sure updates that customer T field. Now, again, I said in my database, the only way you can do that is to go into the order form. So I am going to control every time you can get to this. I don't want to have multiple events. I don't want to have to worry about updating this, changing this, deleting an order, all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control how my users get to this order form. The only way you can get to the order form is going to be through the customer form. Okay? Because I want to have complete control over it. So this button's the only way I get into there. So I'm going to make this form modal. Okay? Design view. Go to properties, other, modal. I never use pop-up. I hate pop-up. Use modal. And if you don't know what modal is, you probably shouldn't be in this class. No. Now, go watch my modal and pop-up video if you don't know what modal and pop-up are. But modal basically says, I'm going to stay on top of other windows and you can't go behind me. And that's important because we're going to use the customer ID on this form, right, to update the customer T order total value whenever this form is closed. Because now this button controls opening up the order form. So if I do anything in here at all, change, delete, add, whatever, it's going to reflect then on that customer. Okay? And by making it modal, I ensure that the user can't do this. They can't open this up and then come back here. See, I can't click anywhere else and change what customer I'm on until I close that form. So that means I can put an event in the onClose or onUnload events in this form to control that order total. And how would I do that? Well, design view, we're going to come into here. We're going to go to events. I'm going to use onClose. Doesn't matter. The only difference between onClose and onUnload is that unload can be canceled and close cannot. All right. But at this point, it doesn't matter. All right. Here's where knowing your SQL comes in handy. Now, you could make an update query to do this and base it on the form value, but I'm going to write it in actual SQL because, you know, we're advanced users and you should know some SQL, right? All right, current db.execute. You can also use do command run SQL. There are pros and cons of each. I got a video on that coming out soon too. Update customer T. Make sure everything's spelled right. All right, next line. Set. Remember your spacing too. Set order total equals DLOOKUP order total from customer order value Q, where the customer ID equals, in fact, I'm going to put this on the next line too, where the customer ID equals forms customer F, customer ID. Okay, next line. Where customer ID equals forms customer F, customer ID. Okay, what's all this craziness? It's basically saying update, which is running an update query. Update customer T, that's a table. Set the order total equal to this DLOOKUP, which is going to look up the customer order value, the order total from this query for that customer, okay? And then set that for that customer. So we need that twice. You could put a little, variable up here and set that if you want to, but this works fine. And yeah, you could, if you want to get rid of delooking up from that query, you could do the dsum here and dsum that all up yourself from the actual order detail queue, I think it is. But this works fine. All right, now this will happen anytime the form is closed. You could run this in a delete event. You could run this in if the form is dirty, but the form won't be dirty if you deleted a record. So I just think, if you open up the order table and you close it, this should run relatively quickly because it's only going to process for one customer. So again, if this runs into performance problems, then we'll tweak it some more, but I think this should be okay. Save it, give it a quick debug compile, come back out here, close it. All right, now let's take a look at the customer table real quick. Richard Ross, okay, I'm worth $45.60. Oh, and by the way, like I mentioned in the other video, I didn't look at is paid at all. If you want to take into consideration is paid, just modify this query, right? And you can say here is paid is true, but I just for the numbers, I didn't bother. Okay, orders. And I'm going to get rid of 3 items from this order here. That should bring my order total down to, what, 700 plus 360, so 1,060 I should be now. When this closes, it updates the table, and now I check customer T, and I'm down to 1,060. See that? James Kirk, 37,000. Let's go to his record. Orders. All right, let's get rid of a bunch of stuff here. Let's get rid of all that. Okay, now he's down to $100. Close it. The update query runs in the background. Customer T. And he's now worth $100. And we can see it's working nicely. Of course it's working. I wrote it. I'm just kidding. So there you have it. That's basically, in a nutshell, how you denormalize. Okay? You take some data that your form or report or whatever is taken forever to process every time you run this thing or every time you open up this form. And it's annoying. Okay? So you could take whatever that calculation is and store the value. But you got to make sure that any dependencies, right, wherever that value can be changed, is properly controlled and updates that value for you. Otherwise, it's going to get out of sync. And you might actually want to keep this value, this query around, maybe run it as a nightly event, just in case something happens somewhere else in the database where, maybe one of your users was updating an order and their system froze. Okay, so the order details got updated, but since their system locked up, the form close event didn't run, and that order didn't get updated. Okay, that's one thing you could do. So run that as a nightly event, and it goes through and makes sure everybody's, as of midnight, last night, corrected. You got to be careful when you're denormalizing. You got to be careful because you're playing a trick for performance, but that trick could turn around to bite you in the butt. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing, and be careful. Okay, I warned you. But I use this all the time, so I haven't had any major problems with it. And again, unless you get a system lockup, then it works. All right, you want to learn more stuff? Access Expert 13, I cover update queries in more detail. Of course, I've got my developer series of courses. Start with Developer 1, work your way up. You're going to learn all this cool stuff in the order it's supposed to be learned. And if you really want to learn SQL, I've got 3 awesome SQL seminars. You really only need parts 1 and parts 2. Part 1 is all about select queries, criteria, your where conditions, your order bys, all that good stuff, the basics. Part 2 is all about action queries, right? Running those update queries with the insert into, append queries, delete query, all that cool stuff. Action queries, modifying your data, plus things like union queries. And then part 3 is about manipulating the structure of your tables. You can actually change your table design in SQL. Don't use that as much. That part 3 is it's cool if you need that, but part 2 is where the real fun is. So go check that out if you want to learn more about SQL. So there you go. That's how you denormalize your database for performance. And this is just one example. I could think of a dozen examples of when you'd want to do this. But that's your fast tip for today. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click on the bell icon to select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Make sure you click the Show More link down below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted, so if you'd like to get an email every time I post a video, click on the link to join my mailing list. Even if you don't want to become a member, feel free to donate to my tip jar. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got puppies to feed. How do you become a member? Click on the Join button below the video. After you click the Join button, you'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks. Silver members and up will get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, 1 free beginner class each month, and more. Gold members get access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus my code vault, where I keep tons of different functions that I use. You'll also get a higher priority if you decide to submit any tech help questions to me, and you'll get 1 free expert class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks, plus even higher priority for tech help questions, access to all of my full beginner courses for every subject, and 1 free developer class each month after you finish the expert classes. These are the full-length courses found on my website, not just for Access too. I also teach Word, Excel, Visual Basic, and lots more. You can now become a Diamond sponsor and have your name or company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown in each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. But don't worry, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access. It's over 4 hours long, and I just updated it for 2021. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below that you can click on. And also, if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. Yep, that's all, $1, and it's free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level, even supporters. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page on my website. You can send me your question there. While you're on my site, feel free to stop by the Access Forum. Lots of good conversations happening there. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Once again, my name is Richard Ross. Thank you for watching this tech help video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something today. I'll see you again soon.